Hey there, I'm Suburban Lion, and this is my guide to Worqor Lar Dor, the first trial in the new Dawntrail expansion for Final Fantasy XIV Online. In Worqor Lar Dor, you're going to be fighting Valigarmanda. This is an 8-person trial with character levels from 93 to 94. You'll unlock this as part of the main story quest, the Skyruin. At the start of the fight, take note of the arena shape. It's a square platform with no walls. The boss will eventually have a move that can knock you back, but until then, keep in mind that you can jump off this platform if you have a backward move of any kind. Just pay attention to your surroundings. After a few basic attacks, the boss will ready Strangling Coil. You'll see an alert show up on your monitor that says, "A tempestuous wind surrounds Valigarmanda," and you'll see the boss start flying in a circle above you. This is your cue that a ring AoE is about to appear, and you should get to the center of the arena for the safe spot. Getting hit by this causes sustained damage and trauma, which can cause additional effects to happen when you get hit multiple times. This results in a several second stun, which can really lower your DPS, so try to avoid moves like this at all times. The second major attack you're going to see the boss use is Slithering Strike. He'll hover at the front of the arena before doing a frontal semicircle that takes up roughly half the arena. You'll see an alert in chat, Valigarmanda gathers its strength the first time, but after that you'll have to watch for the visual cue in the chat box. When you see this coming, just get back until the attack goes off, and then you can move back in as needed. The third attack is Susurrant Breath, and you'll see the boss charging energy in his beak, and an alert will read Blinding Energies build within Valigarmanda's wide open beak. This is a frontal cone attack, and what you should do when you see this is get to the front two corners of the arena where it's going to be safe. Like the other two attacks that we've seen so far, getting hit will cause trauma, which is something you want to avoid at all, if at all possible. During this initial phase, the boss also has a move that's called Ice Talon. You'll see him float up slightly and start with the cast bar, and it'll apply tank buster icons to both tanks in the party. The tanks should move away from party members and pop defensive cooldowns as necessary. Keep in mind that this move may not happen if you push the phase transition fast enough, so you might not see this move at all. As the fight progresses, he's going to cast a skill called Skyruin. And there's two variations of this skill you're going to see. Most likely the first time you'll see this, it will be the Cloud and Bottle variant. But this indicates a phase shift to one of two phases, either lightning or ice respectively. The cue for the ice phase looks like a little slope in the box. You'll see an example of that later in this video. When the lightning phase begins, you want to take note of the changes to the arena here. It becomes a grid with several green rectangles, 4 in the corner and 1 in the center, and the boss will cause some room-wide damage when you go into this new phase too. Examine your surroundings when you get in, and observe that standing on these green rectangles makes your character float several feet off the ground. This is going to be important in later skills. The first new skill that Valigarmanda is going to use in this phase is called Thunderous Breath. You'll see him hovering with his beak at the platform level, and he has an indicator that's a cone shape that covers the entire arena. What you'll need to do to avoid this attack is to get to those green rectangles and receive the floaty effect. Keep in mind that getting hit by this skill can cause both paralysis and vulnerability, so this can make the rest of the mechanics more difficult afterwards. Shortly after that, the boss will ready Hail of Feathers. You'll see several green wind blasts as feathers drop across the battlefield. They're going to cause light damage to basically the entire party, and you'll want to heal through that, but keep in mind where those feathers are placed because they're going to come into play in the next minute. After casting Hail of Feathers, Valigarmanda follows with the skill called Blighted Bolt. You'll see him charging a ball of purple energy. The feathers that we saw in the previous phase will have AoEs attached to them, but the indicator isn't going to show up to the last second. So take note of where those feathers were from the previous attack, and try not to be standing next to one of them at the end of this Blighted Bolt cast. In addition to this effect, any players that are currently floating due to those green rectangles are going to attract extra bolts of lightning in addition to the feathers. So players that are floating should get out of the green to dodge this bolt of lightning. Getting hit by this causes vulnerability, which is bad, but not as bad as being paralyzed, so keep that in mind. Also during the lightning phase, Valigarmanda will occasionally summon arcane spheres. It will say in the alert text, Valigarmanda summons arcane circles of thunder, and you'll see these glowy purple circles appear on either the left or the right side of the arena. These are going to have line AoEs that are moments before impact, and there's going to be a missing circle in this roam sphere. So find out where the missing sphere is and get in line with that so that you can avoid the line attack. Getting hit by this arcane sphere can cause paralysis, so try to avoid this if at all possible, because being paralyzed is going to make you eat more moves later. After a short while, the boss will ready a skill called Disaster Zone. And this is, he's going to start floating up, and you'll see a cast bar. This is going to cause room-wide damage and revert the arena back to its original state. So take note that this marks the end of the phase, and just shield and heal as necessary. After working on the boss again for a while, he may again cast Skyruin, but this time turning the field into an ice state. You'll see the arena change into a snowy landscape. And take note of the hill position in the southeast. Like before, the phase transition will have room-wide damage that you might need to heal through, and just take note of your new surroundings when this happens. The first new attack that Valigarmanda acquires in this new phase is called Avalanche, and you'll see an alert show up in the screen that says a rumbling avalanche approaches from the southeast. So look to that hill we noticed earlier, and you'll see a line of blue arrows on it. This is going to tell you where the incoming attack is. It's going to cover roughly half the arena. So move yourself out of the indicated path, and if you do get hit, take note that it will cause vulnerability stats, increasing the damage you take. The next new skill that Valigarmanda uses in the ice phase is called Freezing Dust. It targets players with a blue play button icon above your head, and you'll want to be moving when this attack hits to avoid being frozen. So you'll see an alert show up that says, "Ice shall be thy tomb." You want to position yourself early to avoid any incoming AoEs so that you can be strafing back and forth or moving around somehow when this skill goes off. If you are not acting when this skill goes off, if you're standing still, it will cause a deep freeze effect, which will form an ice boulder around you that your allies will need to kill in order to free you. Like the lightning phase, the ice phase, Valigarmanda can also summon arcane circles, but this time he will summon arcane circles of ice. So you'll see two bright blue spheres with a bunch of spokes coming out. These spokes indicate the directions of several line attacks that will spread out in all 8 directions indicated by those spokes. You'll see the cast bar Chilling Cataclysm go off on those spheres, and what you want to do is you want to try and position yourself between the lines from both circles so that you don't get hit by either of them. Keep in mind that getting hit is going to cause that deep freeze effect also, with the ice boulder forming around you, and players will have to kill that boulder to get you out. Once again, the boss is going to ready Disaster Zone. Same thing as before, only this time you're transitioning from the snow arena back to the room. Following the ice phase, the boss is going to have some new moves here, the first of which is called Ruin Fall. This is going to form soap pillars in the center of the arena and put a double red orb marker on one of the tanks. The tanks are going to need to damage share on this soak tower, while the rest of the group positions in line for a knockback. You'll see rows of yellow arrows cover the arena. There is a short delay between the tank buster and the knockback for the tanks to get into position, but me personally, I prefer to just arm's length. In addition to potentially falling off due to the knockback, keep in mind that there's going to be several circles near the edge that can cause damage and vulnerability. So you want to try to position at the very, very front of the arena for the knockback. The next new attack Valigarmanda is going to use is called Ruin Foretold. This is going to summon 3 beacons on the field, 1 for each element, and these adds must be killed before the next phase. If you don't kill them in time, it's going to cause a blight, so the recommended strategy here is to just focus them down in time. The reason I suggest focusing the beacons one at a time is that during this time, the boss is going to cast a skill called Calamitous Cry. This is going to have a line shared damage marker appear over a player, and several cone AoEs appear on the floor. So you're going to have to dodge these cone attacks, strafing back and forth as a group while you go around killing these beacons. Following the beacon phase, the boss is going to ready a skill called Tully Disaster. You'll see him float up and begin casting this skill. It's going to cause heavy AoE damage and apply a debuff that causes burning damage for the rest of the fight. This is just going to kind of be your rage mechanic. You just need to burn the boss down before he kills you. The boss acquires one more last move in this final phase here, and you'll see a cast bar for Eruption with a large red rune appearing in front of the boss. This is going to behave like old school Ifrit's eruptions. You're going to have a series of ground AoEs that kind of track player movement, and you want to kind of kite these away from the group while avoiding other mechanics as necessary. And with that, you've seen all the boss's mechanics, and now it's just a matter of repeating them until he's dead. Good luck on the fight, and enjoy the Dawntrail story. It's great. I hope you like it. Like, follow, and subscribe for more Final Fantasy content, and we'll see what we can do. Take care.